I never anticipated that love would find me amidst the vibrant chaos of a community talent show in Salt Lake City. Indeed, the very notion seemed improbable, yet there I was, swept away by an unexpected tide of emotion. I am Catherine Wright, though most know me simply as Kate. At the age of 32, I have dedicated the past for a decade. I have devoted myself to safeguarding the lives of celebrities, politicians, and affluent socialites, individuals who have come to regard death threats as merely an unfortunate aspect of their existence. In the midst of their glamorous lives, I wield a gun, armed with knowledge of 17 methods to incapacitate a man twice my size. The duration of my relationships has dwindled to a mere 3 months since I embarked on this career path, a testament to the trust issues that have inevitably accompanied my journey. In a realm where suspicion was the currency of the day, I found myself adrift on that October evening, the weight of my responsibilities momentarily lifted. Off duty and ensnared by a profound ennui, I languished in the stillness, the shadows of doubt lingering like ghosts in the corners of my mind. My apartment felt like a confining cage, and the local community center was hosting an amateur talent showcase I thought I might attend. To indulge in a cold beer while observing the delightful spectacle of ordinary individuals stumbling through their moments of vulnerability offers a far more engaging pastime than merely gazing at the confines of my own walls. It is a celebration of the community, a shared experience that transcends the mundane. The center reeked of burnt coffee, the scent mingling with that of worn carpet. Folding chairs, their metal frames slightly rusted, faced a makeshift arrangement. In a dimly lit auditorium, a nervous teenager took to the stage, attempting to breathe life into a Taylor Swift song. Though the effort felt more like a struggle than a performance, I found a seat in the back, near the exit, a quiet observer of this unfolding moment. As I nursed a lukewarm Budweiser, my gaze flickered to my phone every 30 seconds. A restless habit. Then, she stepped onto the stage, her blonde hair catching the light in a way that drew my full attention. The harsh fluorescent lights glinted like spun gold, illuminating her figure in a simple black dress that embraced her curves with perfect grace. And when she gazed out at the sparse audience, her incredible blue eyes capturing the light in a way that made something shift within me, she introduced herself simply as Laya, forgoing any last name, and took her seat with nothing but an acoustic guitar in hand. The first note she played hung in the air, a delicate promise of the melodies to come. Her voice, a blend of honey and smoke, silenced the room as she wove a tale of loneliness that struck me with the force of a punch. She was not merely performing for us, she was bleeding for us, raw, honest, and beautiful. I neglected to consider my phone, my beer, and even the habitual, anxious survey of the exits when, as she concluded her performance, the applause erupted like thunder, resonating through the intimate gathering of perhaps 40 souls. I found myself on my feet, clapping with a fervor I hadn't experienced in years. It was then that I should have taken my leave. I ought to have turned away, to have left behind the enchanting blonde singer, whose voice lingered in the air like a haunting melody. Yet, inexplicably, I found myself drawn backstage, unable to resist the pull of the moment. In the dim light of the community center's kitchen, she was meticulously packing away her guitar when I drew near. Closing the distance between us was even more breathtaking. Yet there lingered an air of fragility about her, as if she had grown accustomed to the desires of others, their unspoken wants weaving a delicate web around her. "That was incredible," I remarked, maintaining a composed and professional tone as I addressed her. As I gazed into those cerulean depths that met my own, a wave of gratitude washed over me. I seldom found myself in such intimate settings, yet tonight felt different. It was a necessary reminder of why I embarked on this journey in the first place. As I began to sing, the words flowed effortlessly, a testament to my journey as a professional artist. Perhaps you've encountered my music, a reflection of my soul, crafted with passion and dedication. On the radio, her latest single was climbing the charts. Though I paid little heed to the modern melodies that filled the air, my heart belonged to the timeless rhythms of classic rock. I'm Kate Wright, and this is my story. She tilted her head, studying me with a newfound interest. You provide security for individuals in your profession. In a straightforward manner, she inquired, are you attempting to market your services as a protector? Do you believe I require such assistance? For a brief moment, silence enveloped us, those piercing blue eyes scanning my features. Indeed, my manager had been urging me to make a hire. There have been a series of unsettling occurrences of late, primarily involving letters, missives from someone who believes we are fated to intertwine our paths. In a moment that felt both unexpected and inevitable, he arrived at my hotel last week. Instantly, I sensed that familiar transition into a realm of professionalism. How had he managed to find me here? In a curious twist of fate, the hotel security, cloaked in the guise of room service, moved through the corridors with an air of authority that left the staff unperturbed. Their presence went unquestioned, a silent testament to the trust woven into the fabric of the establishment. It was a moment that felt almost whimsical, as if the universe had conspired to bring forth an opportunity. "When do you wish to begin?" came the question, casual yet laden with promise. "You're hired." The words flowed effortlessly, sealing the fate of the moment. It was clear that the need was palpable, and the stage was set for something remarkable to unfold. The assurance I offered was straightforward, yet it ignited a spark within her. For the first time since my arrival, a smile graced her lips, and in that moment, her entire countenance was transformed. "Nothing about you appears to be simple, Kate." She was certainly not mistaken in that regard. Yet, as she extended her business card towards me, her fingers grazing mine for a fleeting moment that lingered just a heartbeat too long. In that instant, I understood I was on the brink of making a decision. The task at hand proved to be far from straightforward. A mere 20 minutes later, I found myself escorting her to her car in the dimly lit expanse of the community center parking lot, methodically assessing security vulnerabilities. Yet a fragment of my mind, the very section I typically kept under stringent control, began to stir. I found myself replaying that smile, pondering the delightful sound of her laughter. Yet, the reminder of professional boundaries lingered in my mind, a cautionary whisper against the allure of what could be. I had forged my reputation on the steadfastness of my principles, yet I couldn't shake the feeling that this particular job was poised to challenge each and every one of them. During the initial week of safeguarding Leia, my demeanor was strictly professional. I arrived at her side with purpose. Each morning at precisely 7 o'clock, I conducted security sweeps from the penthouse, meticulously coordinating with the venue staff while maintaining a professional distance, efficient and unseen when necessary. Leia rendered that final aspect unattainable. She had fetch me coffee without a word, recall the nuances of conversations we scarcely shared, and possess an uncanny awareness of my thoughts. In moments of vigilance, I found myself scanning for threats, yet more frequently, my gaze drifted toward her. A distraction I often wished to resist. "Admit it, you don't have to stand so far away," she said on the 5th day, adjusting her posture. As I adjusted the earpiece in preparation for the radio interview, I reminded myself that I wouldn't bite. After all, it is often the distance that grants us a clearer perspective. Words escaped my lips, though we both understood that they echoed within the confines of a radio booth she occupied. Her laughter echoed, that same radiant smile from the community center, illuminating her face as she positioned herself perfectly within the sightlines of the photo shoot. Friday marked a turning point. A prestigious fashion magazine had chosen her for their cover, which signified an entire day devoted to the meticulous preparations that lay ahead. Costume changes, makeup touch-ups, and photographers who believed that capturing the perfect shot warranted any breach of personal space. In my appointed corner, I observed with a keen eye as the lead photographer, a rather self-important fellow by the name of, with each click of the shutter, Marco drew nearer, his fingers deftly adjusting Leia's hair, a gentle touch upon her shoulder. He leaned in, his voice a soft whisper that danced between them. The instructions that clearly unsettled her. "Could we remove the bodyguard from the frame?" Marco shouted across the room. The magazine editor regarded me with a furrowed brow. "She's too intense. It's affecting the model's energy." I met her gaze, my voice steady and unyielding. "I'm not moving," I replied flatly. "Look, lady, this is art. Your paranoid energy is suffocating the atmosphere." Layla's jaw clenched. She had maintained her professionalism throughout. The day unfolded, marked by Marco's incessant wandering hands, yet I could sense her patience beginning to fray. The air was thick with a palpable tension. As she remarked on the lingering paranoia that enveloped us, "Kate, could you please step a little closer?" I said, as I moved forward, carefully positioning myself in a way that felt intentional and deliberate. Marco, unable to overlook my presence in his peripheral vision, grasped the unspoken cue and retreated, as he grumbled quietly about the challenges posed by certain celebrities during the lunch break. Leia sought me out amidst the bustling studios. On the roof terrace, the October air carried a refreshing crispness, while the Salt Lake Valley unfurled beneath us, a breathtaking panorama of nature's artistry. "Thank you," she said, settling beside me on the concrete ledge, her voice a gentle murmur amidst the bustling world around us. I merely nodded, aware that I was simply fulfilling my duty. It was not merely a job. It was an act of genuine care. She stood nearer than the boundaries of professionalism would permit, her shoulder almost brushing against his. As our hands brushed, I should have recoiled, yet I found myself captivated. Tracing the delicate curve of her profile against the backdrop of the world around us, against the majestic mountain backdrop, I remarked. Marco's quite the character. Most photographers tend to be a bit of an ass. It's simply part of the trade. The industry may not justify the means, yet she pivoted to confront me entirely, her blue eyes reflecting a gravity that was unmistakable. You truly have no idea who I am, she stated, her tone laced with an intensity that demanded attention. Am I to understand that, beyond the fundamental research required for the position, there are additional considerations I should take into account? Those in your position would have undoubtedly scoured the internet for every detail about me by now: my romantic entanglements, my controversies, my financial standing. I possess the knowledge required to ensure your safety. Yet I find myself pondering the possibility of sharing more with you. The question lingered in the air, a palpable challenge that held us in a moment of stillness. For a heartbeat, neither of us dared to move, until, as if compelled by an unseen force, we began to shift toward one another. As we leaned in, an invisible force drew us nearer, her breath a warm whisper against my skin. Infused with the rich aroma of coffee and a hint of mint, my heart raced, pounding in my chest like a drum echoing in the stillness of the moment, pressed against my ribs as her gaze fell to my lips. The kiss was gentle, hesitant, a stark contrast to the fervent desire I had anticipated from one accustomed to having her desires fulfilled. As we separated, both of us found ourselves breathing more heavily. She began with an air of unprofessionalism, yet I completed the task, though I made no effort to intervene. The distance that lay between us seemed almost perfect that evening. As I stood in her penthouse, everything felt transformed, imbued with a sense of possibility that was both exhilarating and unsettling. The air between us was thick with unvoiced tension as she placed an order for room service, a meal for two, without so much as inquiring if I had any appetite for dinner. I stood there, caught in the moment. We sat on her couch, sharing a meal, our conversation flowing effortlessly around every topic imaginable, deliberately avoiding the events that had transpired on that roof, a silence lingering in the air between us. She recounted her upbringing in a quaint Colorado town, a place where the mountains cradled her childhood dreams. At the tender age of 18, she embarked on a journey to Nashville, armed only with a guitar and a mere $500. Ready to chase the melodies that danced in her heart, I found myself recounting tales of my military training, my inaugural experience in celebrity protection, and even the moment when in a moment of unexpected chaos, I inadvertently collided with a backup dancer who had stealthily approached my client from behind. "So, you've never been married?" she inquired, her tone laced with curiosity. She asked, curling her legs beneath her. "It's hard to maintain relationships in this job. What sort of trust issues are we discussing?" I pondered the extent of my honesty, weighing the delicate balance of vulnerability against the shadows of doubt that lingered in my mind. The nature of her work demanded a constant vigilance, a wariness that painted every interaction with suspicion. It was a challenge to allow anyone to breach the fortress she had built around her heart, especially when every gaze felt like an assessment, a silent inquiry into her vulnerabilities. She could sense the weight of their scrutiny, each pair of eyes a reminder of the dangers lurking just beyond the surface, with that same intensity captured in the photograph, as if she could pierce through all my meticulously crafted facades. "Walls," I repeated, though my voice emerged harsher than I had intended. She set her wine glass down gently, shifting closer on the couch. "What about me? Laya, I'm not—" Everyone else faded into the background as Kate leaned in. This time, when her lips met mine, there was nothing tentative about it. Her hands wove themselves into my hair, anchoring us in that moment, drawing me nearer. I surrendered to weeks of pent-up desire. Her flavor was a blend of wine and unspoken promises. Leaving me uncertain of my next move, we could maintain our connection. Yet we found ourselves drifting apart just when we both craved the breath of freedom. Her forehead pressed gently against mine, and in that moment, the complexities of our situation began to unfurl before us. She whispered softly, "Good." In response, she murmured, "I like complicated." The dawn of the next morning unveiled a new chapter. Complications I had not foreseen arose as I meticulously reviewed the security protocols for Laya's. As I prepared for the upcoming concert, my phone suddenly buzzed, interrupting the anticipation that filled the air. It was a message from my agency boss, urgently relaying the needs of a high-profile client who required backup. An hour later, Callie Price stepped through Laya's front door with an air of purpose, as if she were entering a realm where secrets lingered in the shadows. She possessed the establishment, a realm I had not traversed in 3 long years. It had been that long since I last laid eyes on Callie, not since we had both vied for the same prestigious position in the world of elite protection. Through the State Department, she had secured her position by a mere point on the psychological evaluation, asserting that I possessed trust and attachment issues that could jeopardize client safety. The irony was not lost on me. "Now, Kate," she said, her tone laced with that familiar edge. Your confident smile, once capable of rendering me weak in the knees, now stands as a bittersweet reminder of the chaos that unraveled between us. You look good. Callie remained largely the same. Still tall and lean, with auburn hair and striking features that seemed destined for the glossy pages of magazines, emitting a carefully calibrated intensity that instilled a sense of security in clients while casting a shadow of unease over colleagues. What brings you here? I inquired, maintaining a professional tone. Fully aware that Laya observed our exchange with keen interest, intrigued by the sounds emanating from the kitchen, she prepared herself, much like a sentinel readying for duty. Ensuring her gear was meticulously arranged, she set her bag down and surveyed the apartment with a keen eye, her assessment marked by a certain professional efficiency. Yet, it was clear that this setup could benefit from some thoughtful improvements. Numerous windows adorned the space, each offering a glimpse into the world beyond, while multiple access points invited exploration. In the midst of this was the client, skillfully preparing breakfast, their presence adding a warm touch to the unfolding scene. She appeared with a steaming cup of coffee in hand, her warm smile, a smile that had been exclusively mine for the past week, illuminating the dim morning light. It was as if she were the missing piece, the additional spark that completed the moment. Security. I am Laya Callie Price. I have heard your music. And Callie has accepted the invitation. She possessed a charm that enveloped her, like the rich aroma of freshly brewed coffee, instilling an immediate sense of trust in her clients. Her voice, resonant yet tender, carried a vulnerability that drew people in, leaving them grateful for her presence. Thank you, Kate. She revealed so much about you, yet I had kept silent with Wyla regarding Callie. The moment Callie's eyebrow arched, it was clear she sensed the unspoken truth. It is indeed intriguing. Kate is not typically one to divulge personal details. We ought to delve into the intricacies of security protocols, I interjected, already anticipating the direction of this conversation. The remainder of the morning unfolded with a palpable tension. Callie, with a furrowed brow, scrutinized every detail I had meticulously arranged, proposing alterations that seemed less like enhancements and more like attempts to assert her own authority. As the rehearsal unfolded, she took on the role of the lead with an air of confidence, positioning herself nearer to the stage, while I was left to manage the periphery, less significant perspectives. Your companion appears remarkably meticulous, Laya remarked during our conversation. In that fleeting moment of solitude, it became clear that she was not truly my friend. The weight of our shared history lingered heavily between us. I sensed it before I could articulate the thought. Callie had returned, poised and prepared for the venue. The journey through the concert hall unfolded like a labyrinthine puzzle, fraught with the potential for chaos. Multiple tiers of backstage areas intertwined, creating a complex web that led to a myriad of hidden spaces. A dozen disparate buildings loomed, their facades a patchwork of ambition and neglect, while the staff, preoccupied with capturing fleeting moments for their social media feeds, appeared less inclined to fulfill their professional duties than to curate their online personas. Callie observed this curious spectacle with a mix of bemusement and concern. She immediately set about eroding my authority. Kate, with her characteristic caution, informed the venue manager when I pressed for further scrutiny regarding backstage access. At times, one must navigate the delicate equilibrium between security and accessibility. Practicality, it seemed, had become a double-edged sword, overly cautious. Yet it kept clients alive. I responded with a sharpness that cut through the tension. Does it merely satisfy your desire to dominate every circumstance? Laya interposed herself between us before I could utter a word. Both startled and intrigued, you are here to shield me, not to engage in philosophical discourse. Come to terms with that this evening. Once Laya had retired for the night, Callie and I faced the confrontation that had been simmering throughout the day. I discovered her in the kitchen. As she reviewed the security footage on her tablet, I couldn't contain my frustration. What the hell is your problem? I demanded, my voice laced with urgency. She glanced up, a hint of mockery dancing in her eyes. In a world where innocence was often overshadowed by suspicion, she found herself caught in a web of misunderstandings. The problem, she insisted, her voice steady yet tinged with frustration, is that I'm merely fulfilling my duties, while you seem intent on casting me in a less favorable light. Incompetent, he declared with a dismissive wave of his hand. I need not exert myself. Kate, your bond with the client is already established. Doing that, there it was, the same accusation that had stripped me of my position at the State Department, now directed at my current role. I had intended for my relationship with Leia to remain strictly professional, yet Callie's laughter echoed with a chilling resonance that used to slice through me like a knife, and it's precisely why the two of you exchanged glances throughout the day. That's why she defends each of your decisions with unwavering conviction, which is why you regard her as if she has hung the very moon in the sky. Yet, in this moment, you find yourself at a loss for words, grappling with the realization that perhaps you do not fully grasp the depth of your own thoughts. About you, Kate, I understand more than anyone else. She rose to her feet, drawing nearer. I know how, when someone holds significance in your life, the clarity of your perspective often blurs. In such moments, the heart takes the reins, leading you to make emotional choices that can affect not just yourself, but those around you as well. Risk, as you once did with me, lingered in the air, heavy with the weight of 3 years of unresolved anger. Callie's expression softened for just a fleeting moment, revealing that a woman I had once trusted completely, yet now she seemed transformed. Was it because, as I recall, it was you who struggled to distinguish between personal emotions and professional responsibilities? You were the one who, your inability to cope with the competition ultimately led to the unraveling of our partnership. It was I who salvaged your career, and the psychological evaluation only confirmed what I had long suspected. Kate, you grapple with an unsettling attachment, drawing too near, caring too deeply. This intensity renders you perilous, or perhaps it is simply a reflection of your true self. With a steely resolve, she regarded me, her expression hardening once more. We'll see about that, she declared, the challenge hanging in the air like a storm cloud. Just then, the sound of approaching footsteps echoed ominously in the corridor. On the stairs, I paused and turned to find Leia clad in pajamas and a robe, her hair tousled from slumber. "Everything okay down here?" she inquired. "Fine," I replied, spoke hastily, merely touching upon the plans for the morrow. Yet Leia's gaze shifted. Between Callie and me, we assumed our defensive postures, the tension crackling in the air like a storm about to break. "Kate, can I talk to you?" You found yourself in her bedroom, the door firmly closed behind you. Leia settled gracefully onto the bed, her hand gesturing invitingly to the space beside her. "I want to tell you something," she said, her voice a soft whisper that hung in the air, thick with anticipation. What that encounter truly signified lingered in the air as I stood there, hands buried deep in my pockets. Callie and I shared a complex professional history, one that was not easily forgotten. What sort of professional history breeds such deep-seated animosity, the kind that leaves one in silence, much like Leia, who bore the weight of complexities unspoken? For a fleeting moment, as you scrutinized my face, it became evident that you were entangled with her. It was no longer a matter of inquiry. Long ago, before the truth of our divergent desires became apparent, there existed a chasm between us. She yearned for victory, an insatiable hunger for triumph that colored her every ambition. Cost weighed heavily on my mind, and I yearned for a partner in whom I could place my unwavering trust. Leia, with a gentle gesture, patted the bed once more, inviting me to join her. Here, against my better judgment, I took a seat beside her. She extended her hand, and she took my hand, her thumb tracing delicate circles on my palm, a silent promise of chaos lurking beneath her serene exterior. For us, she is not merely present. She is here to fulfill her duty. I gazed into those striking blue eyes. She appeared to perceive every secret I endeavored to conceal. Indeed, she had come to stir trouble, but we would not allow her to succeed. 3 days later, an unsettling incident unfolded involving Marcus Thompson, a 26-year-old man grappling with unemployment. He was utterly consumed by his infatuation with Leia Adams, his correspondence evolving over the months from simple bouquets to intricately penned letters filled with fervent detail. Visions of their future life together danced in his mind, each scenario more vivid than the last. The hotel experience had served as a trial, a preliminary exploration of their potential. This time, however, he had successfully navigated the complexities, emerging on the other side with newfound confidence. As I stood in the kitchen, the sudden blare of alarms shattered the stillness, sending a jolt through my veins. Callie was meant to be stationed at the main entrance, her watchful presence a supposed safeguard against any intrusion. Yet, against all odds, Marcus had ascended to the 17th floor, clutching a bouquet of roses in one hand and a ring likely purchased with his hard-earned savings in the other. In the dimly lit hallway outside Leia's door, I discovered him, his ear pressed against the wood, murmuring softly to himself. As her voice pierced the air, calling out his name with an authoritative tone, he turned abruptly, the urgency of her command echoing in his mind. "Sir, step away from the door," she insisted, and he felt the weight of her words compel him to act. With wild eyes and a trembling voice, she insisted, "She's in there. She's waiting for me. We have a date?" "No, you don't," came the firm reply. "Turn around and walk away." As we moved toward the elevator, her voice resonated with an earnestness that pierced the air. "You don't understand, we're meant to be together," she sang, each word laced with a haunting melody that lingered in my mind. It was during the broadcast that I first caught sight of the knife, The ensuing 30 seconds unfolded with the precision of a well-rehearsed disarmament, each movement calculated and deliberate. With a firm grip, I subdued Marcus, pinning him face down on the carpet, my knee pressing into his back as I reached for the radio to call for police backup. It was a standard procedure, yet nothing about the scene unfolded as expected. Laya, in a moment of unexpected defiance, swung open her door amidst the chaos of the takedown, her eyes widening at the sight of Marcus, bloodied and vulnerable. With a split lip, I gasped for breath, adrenaline coursing through my veins, while the scattered roses lay trampled in the aftermath of our struggle. Her face drained of color. Could it be him, the one who had been penning those letters to her? Yes, he was leaving for a while. As the police completed their report, Laya trembled, her composure wavering under the weight of their inquiries. Yet, she held herself together, steadfast in the face of their probing questions. Though they maintained a facade of professionalism and cooperation, I could sense the underlying fear that lingered in the air as they departed. Marcus in custody. He knew where I lived, she whispered, pacing her living room like a caged animal. He knew my schedule. The name of my beloved cat from when I was 7 echoes in my mind, much like the cherished memories of my favorite coffee shop. Lila, you are safe now. Now, safe. He wielded a knife. Kate, what if you hadn't been here? What if he had... In moments of solitude, a yearning to convey my unwavering commitment to her safety surged within me. I longed to assure her that I would always stand guard. Yet instead, I found myself silent. I expressed what I believed she needed to understand. The security protocols are firmly established, ensuring that such an incident will not recur. Yet, she halted in her tracks. He paced back and forth, his gaze fixed upon me, as if searching for something deeper. Is this all there is for you? He questioned, his voice laced with a hint of disappointment. Just another protocol. That is not what I intended. So, what did you mean? At this moment, I find myself engulfed in a profound sense of isolation, unable to connect with anyone or place my trust in another soul. One individual, entrusted with the sacred duty of providing me solace, now regards me as merely another client. Her tears, a poignant testament to the unraveling of our connection, streamed down her face as the adrenaline finally ebbed. Every instinct within me clamored to. It was essential to uphold a professional distance, allowing her the space to navigate this tumultuous moment independently. She could reach out to her therapist, her manager, or anyone else she deemed fit, but the decision to do so had to rest solely in her hands. I moved across the room, drawing her into my embrace, and she melted against me. As I cradled her close, her sobs echoed softly against my shoulder. A poignant reminder of her fragility. She felt so small, so vulnerable. A stark contrast to the confident persona she usually wore like armor. The world beheld her as a performer. Yet beneath the facade, Laya was merely a frightened soul, vulnerable and human, placing her trust in me to fend off the lurking monsters. I've got you, I assured her. He whispered softly into her hair. I won't let anyone hurt you. Promise me. I promise. As she withdrew slightly to meet my gaze, her eyes glistened with a fiery hue, betraying both their redness and an unwavering resolve. I mean it, she declared with a conviction that resonated in the air between us. Kate, promise me you won't abandon Laya, not even to the bodyguard. You must swear to me that you won't. She seemed to vanish whenever the situation grew intricate, her request lingering in the air, something I had never offered to another soul. A promise that I would remain. She would be my choice, eclipsing my career, my safety, and the fortress of walls I had meticulously built around myself. The thought of it sent a shiver through me, more daunting than any shadowy figure lurking in the dark. Never could I have anticipated this moment, yet as I gazed upon her tear-streaked visage, feeling the rhythm of her heart thrumming against my own, I realized with a profound certainty that I was irrevocably lost. I promise, I said, my words imbued with sincerity. In that moment, she kissed me desperate, grateful, and achingly sweet. I pressed my lips against hers, savoring the mingling flavors of salt and relief, intertwined with an emotion that teetered on the edge of something perilously akin to love. As we parted, apart, we both gasped for breath. Stay with me tonight, she murmured softly. Lila, I don't believe that's solely about sex. Just stay, please. So I did. We lay there, she nestled on the couch, lost in the world of old movies, until slumber claimed her, her form curling against my side. I remained awake, attuned to the gentle rhythm of her breathing, and observing the door with the vigilance of a watchful guardian, a trait Callie had playfully attributed to me in the early hours of the morning. Around 3 o'clock, the phone buzzed, a text illuminating the screen. Callie settled into the cozy embrace of the night, her thoughts drifting to the client and the hopes she held for the agency's future. Remains unaware of the extent of your unprofessionalism. I chose to delete the message without a reply, yet the harm had already been done. Callie had been observing, her gaze sharp and calculating. She understood precisely how vulnerable I was becoming, and she was meticulously keeping track of it all. The morning unfolded with a tapestry of awkward small talk, punctuated by the clinking of coffee cups and a carefully preserved distance that deceived no one. Laya's gaze flitted repeatedly, betraying her thoughts as she stole glances at. As she moved about, unaware of my gaze, I found myself reflecting on the very essence of professional boundaries and the reasons they were established in the first place. Callie arrived at 10, her knowing smirks and passive-aggressive remarks about dedication to duty hanging in the air like a thick fog. "Rough night, was it?" she inquired, her tone laced with a hint of mischief. Worn and weary, I remained vigilant as the client faced a security scare, my presence a steadying force amid the unfolding tension. As Laya stepped into the shower, Callie seized the moment, cornering me in the kitchen with an intensity that left little room for escape. This is precisely what I was referring to. "Kate, you find yourself emotionally compromised, and I am navigating through it all. My profession, unlike yours, does not encompass sleepovers or the warmth of cuddling on the couch. How is that possible? Do you understand what transpired?" she inquired, a smile gracing her lips, cold and tinged with satisfaction. "I know you, and I know." That gaze she casts upon you as you dance with danger is electric. You are indeed playing with fire, and when the flames consume everything, I shall be here, ready to sift through the ashes and restore what remains. Is that a threat? No, it is a stark reality check. Awaken before you jeopardize everything you hold dear. Careers faded into the background as Wyla stepped out of the bathroom, her hair glistening with droplets and a smile that tightened my chest, illuminating the moment with an undeniable warmth. It may already be too late for the sobering truths of reality. I found myself succumbing to the depths of my feelings for her, and it was a descent that felt both exhilarating and perilous. Swiftly and utterly defying every principle I had ever established for myself, Callie stood poised, anticipating the moment I would falter. The weekend excursion to Isla's mountain cabin was envisioned as a fortification of sorts, an escape to a remote haven, equipped with controlled access and an expansive view that promised both serenity and safety. "Lines," I murmured to myself, recalling her suggestion. "I need to escape the city," she had said, her voice laced with urgency after 3 more fan rotations. That week, letters arrived, bringing with them a sense of solace. In that secluded cabin, 2 hours away from the prying eyes of the world, I found a space where I could finally breathe freely, unburdened by the weight of scrutiny. To the north of Salt Lake City, cradled within the embrace of the Wasatch Mountains, lay a secluded haven where the whispers of nature drowned out the hum of technology. Here, cell service faltered, and the nearest neighbor was a distant 5 miles away, creating a sanctuary of solitude amidst the rugged beauty. The distance, an ideal refuge for safety, yet a dismal trap for my self-discipline. I had dispatched Callie back to the city under the guise of a fabricated rationale concerning coordination with the local police had become a stage for my unfolding drama. The last thing I required was her vigilant gaze scrutinizing my every move meticulously recorded, each moment marking the delicate boundary I traversed between the realms of professional and personal. "This is beautiful," Laya remarked as we approached the gravel drive. The cabin stood before us, a harmonious blend of rustic charm and elegant simplicity, crafted from natural wood and stone, with floor-to-ceiling windows that framed the majestic mountain views. I found myself whispering, exposed on 3 sides, already captivated by the surroundings. As Kate surveyed the sprawling landscape of her digital domain, she couldn't shake the feeling that the vulnerabilities lay hidden within the vast expanse of oversized windows, each one a potential access point waiting to be exploited. The sheer number of these openings weighed heavily on her mind, a constant reminder of the lurking dangers that threatened her carefully constructed world. She placed her hand gently on my arm, her voice a soothing whisper. "We're safe here. No one knows about this place, except for my manager and now you." The cabin exuded warmth and charm, with its rich leather furniture, a stone fireplace crackling softly, and an open kitchen that beckoned with the promise of shared meals and laughter. That cascaded into the living area. It evoked a sense of home, a warmth that starkly contrasted with the sterile hotel suites and penthouse apartments to which I had grown accustomed. As I stood guard over the solitary bedroom, I became acutely aware of a warmth creeping into my cheeks, a sensation both unfamiliar and revealing. Take the couch, she said swiftly, her gaze lingering on mine for a moment longer than necessary. The first evening unfolded like a slow, agonizing dance. As we prepared dinner side by side, her presence was intoxicating. Each time she reached for the spices, her body brushed against mine, igniting a spark with every fleeting touch of her hands. As she handed me the plates, a profound sense of domestic intimacy enveloped us, stirring a deep ache of longing within my chest. Tell me about your family, I urged, my voice barely above a whisper. As she sipped her wine and twirled the pasta on her fork, she remarked, "There's not much to share. My military parents were always on the move. In a quaint small town nestled within the heart of Colorado, there existed a diner, a cherished establishment owned by devoted parents. Their lives, however, were tragically cut short in a car accident, leaving behind a void that echoed through the community. At the age of 23, an accident altered the course of my life, compelling me to seek refuge in Nashville, a place where I could escape the shadows of my past. In a setting that evoked their presence daily, we conversed until the stroke of midnight, exchanging tales we had never dared to share with another soul. As she finally retreated to her slumber, I remained on the couch, my gaze fixed upon the dwindling embers of the fire. Thoughts swirled in my mind, reflecting on the simplicity of it all. To cross that line entirely would be to embrace the dawn of a second day, one that emerged shrouded in a gray chill. Snow had begun its gentle descent overnight, dusting the world in a delicate, white veil. The mountains, cloaked in a shroud of white, stood sentinel as Leia brewed coffee. While I surveyed the perimeter, we both understood the futility of the task, yet the road stretched ahead, a silent witness to our routine. It may become impassable by nightfall, I reported. In that case, we need not proceed. She had borrowed my sweater, having forgotten to pack any warm clothes. It draped loosely over her frame, a comforting reminder of our shared moments. She appeared somehow younger, an air of vulnerability cloaking her like a delicate veil. "This is dangerous," I cautioned, yet the words hung in the air, unheeded. "I wasn't referring to the weather," she said, a hint of frustration in her voice. "What is this, us being here alone?" With that, she sank into the chair, her demeanor shifting as the weight of the moment settled around them. She grasped her coffee mug and inched closer, a sense of danger looming in the air. The reason for her unease was clear. Her thoughts were tangled, elusive, and she struggled to find clarity. "In your presence, all my professional instincts seem to vanish, especially when you regard me with that particular gaze. As I find myself succumbing to the depths of my feelings for you, I can't help but fear the unraveling of all that I have painstakingly constructed." "Kate, please, allow me to complete my thought. I have dedicated my life to building this foundation. Life revolves around the delicate dance of control, a careful orchestration of distance, a steadfast resolve to never allow anyone to breach the carefully constructed barriers so near that it stung." I felt the weight of my frustration as I ran my fingers through my hair, grappling with the emotions you stirred within me. Every barrier I had ever constructed lay in ruins, and she stood mere inches from me, close enough for me to catch the scent of her presence. Perfume lingered in the air, a delicate reminder of her presence. I caught glimpses of gold flecks dancing within her blue eyes, a mesmerizing sight that suggested the very foundations of my world were destined for upheaval. When her lips met mine, it was as if the universe itself had shifted, unraveling the fabric of reality around us. Unlike the tentative touches we had exchanged in the past, this was a claiming, a demanding, an honest connection. I kissed her back with fervor. Weeks of pent-up longing surged within me as my fingers wove through her hair, drawing her nearer. "I want you," she whispered against my lips. I ought to have declined, to have invoked the principles of professional ethics, for what I faced was nothing short of career suicide, and all the reasons why this was the most ill-fated notion we had ever conceived. Instead, I cradled her in my arms, and he swept her down the hall. The urgency of that first moment palpable, a culmination of desperate, frantic months steeped in tension. At last, the moment of release arrived once more, but this time it unfolded with a deliberate slowness, a tender exploration of one another's depths. Our bodies intertwined like a whispered prayer, and by the time the snow ceased its gentle descent, we found ourselves ensnared in sheets that carried the lingering scent of her perfume. With the scent of my cologne lingering in the air, she nestled her head against my chest, my fingers meandering in gentle patterns across her bare shoulder. "I love you," she whispered, her voice a soft melody that wrapped around us. Into the hushed embrace of the night, the words struck me with the force of a tangible impact, as if I had been caught unawares. Anticipating their arrival had been one thing, but hearing their voices reverberate through the air transformed the abstract into a stark reality. The decision I had long evaded now loomed before me, impossible to dismiss any longer. "Do not under any circumstances. Attempt to label this as complicated or unprofessional, nor resort to any of the other justifications you have been employing. Maintain your distance. Those are not mere excuses, but the stark truth. She elevated herself on one elbow, her gaze fixed intently upon my face, in the silvery glow of moonlight filtering through the windows. The truth of our circumstances unfolds. You, a steadfast bodyguard, and I, merely a client, entangled in a delicate dance of duty and vulnerability. The agency has established stringent regulations regarding fraternization, and it seems that Callie intends to report all of us for our transgressions. If that is the case, we shall confront it together. You cannot fully grasp the weight of what you are asking. If this were to come to light, I would forfeit my license, tarnish my reputation, and dismantle everything I have painstakingly constructed. It remains concealed, yet Callie harbors her suspicions. One misstep could unravel everything. Photograph one witness, and we're both doomed, Laya said, her voice barely above a whisper. The weight of the words hanging heavily in the air, she fell silent, lost in thought, the tension palpable in the stillness that followed. When she spoke again, her voice was barely a whisper. Do you regret this? I found myself looking down at her, the weight of her question hanging in the air between us, disheveled, yet captivating in the soft glow of the moonlight. I felt an unfamiliar sensation crack open within my chest. No, that was the dilemma. The following morning, I awoke to an empty space beside me. In the kitchen, I discovered her, fully dressed, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee wafting through the air, a testament to the effortless familiarity that lingered between us. The night before had vanished, supplanted by a courteous distance that stung like a slap. We should head back, she said, her gaze averted from mine. The roads are clear. Laya, it's perfectly fine. Kate, truly, we both let ourselves get swept up in the moment. It won't happen again. It was bound to occur once more, yet the atmosphere was anything but serene. The journey back to Salt Lake City unfolded in a heavy silence, each mile marked by unspoken thoughts and lingering tension, heavy with unvoiced sentiments and the burden of our shared history. She vanished the moment we arrived at her penthouse, into her bedroom, while I grappled with the daunting task of salvaging both my career and my sanity. My phone buzzed to life with a text from Callie. How was the romantic getaway? I hope it was worth it. I found myself staring at the message, lost in thought. It dawned on me at last that she had been observing from the shadows, biding her time, anticipating my misstep, eager for the moment I would unwittingly validate her suspicions. Concerning my struggles with attachment, I found myself entirely consumed by the depths of my emotions. The most disconcerting aspect was that I harbored no regrets for even a fleeting moment. The transformations began with a quiet, almost imperceptible grace. Callie would strategically place herself between me and Leia during public appearances, asserting that it afforded her better sightlines. I found myself volunteering for the shifts I typically managed, all the while grappling with the lingering fatigue from the mountain cabin trip. Her inquiries about my well-being had cast a shadow of doubt over my sense of security. Evaluations conducted before the venue managers have been eroding my authority with a precision akin to a scalpel. Kate, it appears, has been somewhat preoccupied of late. During a meeting from which I was conspicuously absent, she confided in Wyla's manager, suggesting that perhaps the weight of the stress was beginning to take its toll on her. I learned of this revelation when Marcus reached out to me, his voice laced with concern. Is everything all right? He asked. Callie mentioned that you've been grappling with some personal matters that could potentially impact your well-being. She navigated the complexities of her personal issues with a certain vagueness, hinting at an emotional investment that lingered just beneath the surface, jeopardizing your clarity just 3 days prior to Wyla's most significant concert of the year. Callie, as we conducted the final security sweeps at Energy Solutions Arena, she suddenly pulled me aside, urgency etched across her face. We need to talk, she said, her voice low and intense. We needed to address the unspoken truth that loomed over us, heavy and charged, like a loaded weapon ready to fire. The accusation of your involvement with the client lingered in the air, palpable and undeniable. Though I maintained a facade of calm, my heart raced with an intensity that belied my outward demeanor. This was no trivial matter. It is not merely an allegation, Kate. It is an undeniable fact. I possess photographs that substantiate my claim. She withdrew from the situation. Her phone flickered to a photograph of us at the cabin. Leia nestled in my arms, both of us unmistakably on the brink of retreating to the bedroom. The timestamp revealed that the photograph had been captured through the window under the cloak of night, a clear indication that she had pursued us, had stalked us. You wretched soul, I exhaled, a sense of urgency in my voice. I'm safeguarding your future, both of your futures. This must come to an end. Here and now, shall I proceed to the agency? What is your desire? Will you resign from this detail and transfer to another? Another client has entrusted me with the permanent oversight of Isla's security. And should I decline these photographs, the implications could be significant. Confront your superior, the client, and anyone else who must witness this unfolding disaster. I commanded, my gaze fixed upon the images before me. The weight of the situation pressed heavily upon me as I meticulously assessed the potential fallout. The thought of my career hanging by a thread sent a chill down my spine, while the image of Laya's humiliation loomed ominously in my mind. A specter I could not bear to confront. Her reputation hung in the balance, teetering on the edge of ruin, contingent upon the manner in which the story unfolded. The agency, in its unforgiving nature, would undoubtedly cast me into the shadows of obscurity, banishing me from the realm of celebrity. Protection forever. You have 24 hours to make your decision. That night's concert was meant to be a turning point. What was meant to be a jubilant celebration turned into something unexpected. Isla's new album had just soared to #1, and the Energy Solutions arena was filled to capacity. Instead, it became in the depths of the night, I found myself ensnared in a waking nightmare. My thoughts should have been consumed by the thrumming pulse of the crowd, my senses attuned to the lurking threats that danced just beyond the periphery. Instead, I faltered, lost in a moment that unraveled the very fabric of my vigilance. I found myself consumed by thoughts of Callie's ultimatum, the weight of the photos looming over me like a dark cloud, threatening to unravel everything I had painstakingly constructed. Laya was halfway through her own journey, oblivious to the turmoil brewing within me. It was during the third song that my gaze fell upon a solitary figure in section 103, a man in his mid-30s, seemingly lost in the music that enveloped him. Clad in a dark jacket that seemed incongruous with the venue's warmth, he fixated on the stage, his intensity radiating like a palpable force. Every alarm in my mind blared as I reached out to Callie, who was stationed on the opposite side of the arena, monitoring the potentially problematic section 103. A man in a dark jacket stood with an intensity that suggested a fixation, his gaze unwavering. He seemed to be caught in a moment, a silent promise lingering in the air, as if to convey that he was fully engaged. Yet there was an unspoken presence of another, a woman who occupied his thoughts. I remained still, observing through the lenses of my binoculars as she held her ground, her attention fixed on her phone, seemingly oblivious to the world around her. A potential threat loomed as the man rose to his feet, his gaze fixed on Callie. He was mobile, making his way toward the stage with a determined stride. Yet, there was still no response. The man pressed onward through the throng, disregarding the murmurs of discontent as he forcefully maneuvered past others. The concertgoers surged forward, their excitement palpable, while the security guards stationed at the stage barriers seemed oblivious, their attention drawn to the exuberant fans rather than the unfolding chaos around them. The genuine peril loomed ominously from their unseen flank, compelling me to forsake my station and flee with urgency. The arena pulsed with chaos, a sea of voices harmonizing in fervent song as I navigated my way through the throng. By the time I arrived at my destination, in the dimly lit stage area, the man had inexplicably managed to slip past the initial security checkpoint, leaving the guards momentarily incapacitated, unconscious. Or perhaps worse, he lay just 10 feet from the stage when I lunged at him. We tumbled together, caught in a chaotic embrace. He fell hard, rolling across the unforgiving concrete floor as the fans screamed and scattered in a frenzy. Beneath his seemingly fragile exterior lay a strength that defied appearances, wary and resilient. In a moment of sheer desperation, a knife materialized in his grasp, slashing through the air with reckless abandon as I struggled to restrain his arm. "She's mine," he bellowed, his voice a frantic echo of possessiveness. "He sings for me, and me alone." As I deftly seize his wrist, slamming it against the surface with a decisive force, remained steadfast until he relinquished the weapon. By that moment, the venue's security had at last arrived, converging upon us with reinforcements. It should have been evident from the outset. As they pulled him away, I glanced upward to find Leia gazing down from above. On the stage, her face was as pale as a ghost, a mask of terror etched upon her features. The music had ceased, leaving an eerie silence that enveloped the arena, where 20,000 souls held their breath in anticipation. Their feet remained rooted, grappling with the enormity of what they had just witnessed, while Callie seemed to have vanished into thin air. Later, within the confines of the venue management office, the truth emerged. Security footage revealed Callie receiving multiple amidst the cacophony of radio calls warning of impending danger. She chose to remain in her carefully selected spot, deliberately turning a deaf ear to the urgent pleas that echoed around her. It was as if she had orchestrated her own isolation, ensconced in a place where the outside world could not reach her, to respond with efficacy, yet faltered in aligning with the venue's security as the situation intensified. "Where on earth were you?" I inquired, my voice laced with impatience. As she finally made her entrance, "Technical difficulties with my radio," she replied with an unsettling calmness. "Good thing you." Oh, they were poised to rescue the moment, yet I discerned the cold calculation in her gaze. She had chosen to allow it to unfold, permitting me to place myself in jeopardy, allow Wyla to confront genuine peril, all in the name of demonstrating the flaws in my judgment. "You orchestrated this entire scenario. While I adhered to the established protocol, you forsook your designated role to assume the mantle of a hero. Your designated role entailed safeguarding the client, while you were also expected to orchestrate the response efforts. Perhaps had you not been so deeply entwined in your emotions, you might have placed your faith in the system rather than choosing to act independently, which proved to be the gravest error." She was correct. I had strayed from the path. The instant I laid eyes on Laya in peril, I had forsaken all protocol. And now, Callie had even more ammunition to wield against me that night back at Laya's penthouse. The weight of it all finally descended upon me, and she had nearly slipped from my grasp, not solely due to the relentless stalker, but also because of my own failure to uphold the necessary professional boundaries. Callie had orchestrated the entire affair to demonstrate just how compromised I had become, and I had unwittingly played directly into her hands. "You saved my life," Laya murmured, tending to the cut on my cheek where the knife had come perilously close. "I nearly got you killed if I had." I have been focused on my responsibilities, rather than fretting over Callie's menacing words. What menacing words? I gazed into her eyes, where trust shimmered like a fragile glass, a trust I was on the brink of shattering. She was aware of our secret, the unspoken bond that lingered in the shadows, and she possessed photographs that captured our hidden moments. The cabin lay in an eerie stillness, a silence so profound it seemed to hold its breath. What sort of photographs were these? The kind that captured moments destined to conclude, leaving behind only echoes of what once was. Careers, what unfolds from here? A decision looms before me. My career or you? Kate, I am aware of my choice, however. I remain uncertain about your readiness to face the repercussions. She kissed me then, with a fervor that was both fierce and desperate. It was a moment steeped in the flavors of trepidation and resolve. As we separated, her eyes ignited with the fierce intensity, a silent declaration that she was prepared to face whatever lay ahead. Next arises the question, are you gazing upon her, fierce and beautiful? It dawned on me that I had been prepared for this moment since that very first evening at the community center. I was merely coming to terms with it at last. It took a certain courage to acknowledge the truth. The confrontation with Callie had been a foregone conclusion from the moment she returned into my life. I had not anticipated such a moment unfolding in Laya's living room at the break of dawn. "We need to settle this." When Callie arrived for the morning shift, Laya remained lost in slumber, and I was eager to conclude this conversation. Before she stirred from her slumber, there was nothing left to resolve. A mere 12 hours remained to reach a conclusion. Yet, my choice was already forged. I was resolute. Callie smiled, a cold satisfaction glimmering in her eyes. "Then you've made your choice," she declared. "It would be a grave misstep for you, one that could very well lead to your professional demise. By noon, I shall ensure that your superior receives the photographs. Act accordingly, for her confidence hangs in the balance." The light flickered briefly, casting shadows that danced across the room. "Kate," a voice urged, laced with urgency, "you must see reason. This woman poses a threat to everything you have built." "No, Callie. You must understand I am endeavoring to rescue you from the depths of your own turmoil, just as I have always done. Save me." "You plead? Are you suggesting that you rescued me from the clutches of the State Department position, just as you have intervened in every potential opportunity that might have come my way? To outshine you was never the intention. That much is clear. Yet, as I reflect on the past, I realize that each moment tells a different story. I approached the very thing I desired, and there you stood, ever watchful, illuminating the reasons for my unpreparedness, for my lack of stability, for my shortcomings. Her facade, once polished and unyielding, began to falter, exposing the simmering jealousy and deep-seated insecurities she had concealed for so long. It is my belief that you were ill-suited for that position. Kate, your emotional turmoil often clouded your judgment, leading you to make decisions driven more by fleeting feelings than by reasoned thought. Rather than presenting the truth, I stood by you as your closest confidant, your unwavering partner, only to find that you had orchestrated my downfall. For the mere thought that I could surpass your capabilities was unbearable to you. I was merely safeguarding all those entangled in this intricate web. In that moment, you were merely defending your own ground. And it was then that she surged forward, igniting the clash between us. The pent-up years of resentment erupted in a whirlwind of fists and grappling, propelling us into a chaotic collision. Callie, well versed in the same combat techniques that I had mastered, possessed a skill set that was both impressive and formidable. In a struggle marked by desperation, I fought with unwavering purpose, my opponent pinned against the wall. It was then that Laya emerged, her presence shifting the very air around us. At the pinnacle of the staircase, a voice echoed with a mix of confusion and urgency. What on earth is happening? Callie endeavored to weave her narrative, gasping about my unprofessional conduct and violent tendencies. Yet the bruise already blossoming on her face, and the overturned coffee table whispered secrets of chaos, a testament to the turmoil that had unfolded. She had been undermining my efforts, I declared, my grip on Callie's wrist unyielding, refusing to release her from the tension that hung thick in the air. The incident in the arena, the glaring security breaches, every detail pointed to a singular truth. She had orchestrated this, a meticulous setup designed to ensure my failure. Was it true? Laya's voice cut through the tension, demanding answers as the weight of betrayal hung heavy in the air. Descending the stairs, I wore an expression that was entirely unfamiliar to me: cold, dangerous, and unsettling in its intensity. I am endeavoring to shield you from her flawed discernment, even as it places me in peril by allowing that man to draw near, enough to take the stage with a weapon that was not his own. Get out! Yayla's voice sliced through the air. Callie's protest sliced through the air, sharp and unyielding. Get out of my home and off my security detail. You can't fire me. I work for The agency observed me closely, their eyes fixed on the aftermath of Callie's departure, the door slamming shut with a force that sent tremors through the air. The windows lay shattered, and I found myself seated amidst the ruins of her living room, grappling with the enormity of what had just transpired. How long would it take to comprehend this chaos? Has she been doing this? Laya asked, her voice tinged with the mixture of curiosity and concern. Years, perhaps. From the very beginning, I realized now that I was too close to see it, to perceive it with clarity, yet now it stands before you. I gazed at her, disheveled yet exquisite in her own way. In her pajamas and robe, her hair tousled from the remnants of sleep, I felt a weight settle in my chest. Indeed, I perceived many things. With a deliberate grace, she shifted nearer, settling beside me on the couch, drawing us into a shared space of intimacy. Especially for us, the question loomed, what would unfold next? I picked up the phone and dialed my boss, ready to tender my resignation. Before Callie can obliterate the remnants of my reputation, I must devise a means to safeguard you, even in the absence of adequate resources, of a prominent security firm, or so she claimed, as she took my hand, urging me to embark on my own journey. As a security company, I find myself stepping into the role of your inaugural client. Yet it seems that this is not the way business is typically conducted. One cannot simply dismiss the notion that I possess the autonomy to allocate my resources as I see fit, prioritizing my own safety and well-being above all else. The sheer simplicity of it took my breath away, a stark contrast to the years I had spent entangled in complexity, amidst the intricate web of agency politics and the rigid structures of professional hierarchies. She presented a proposition that was refreshingly simple, a choice to let us forge something anew, for the storm of scandal will inevitably break upon us. Callie, relentless in her pursuit, will not allow this matter to fade into silence. Together, we shall confront whatever comes our way, whether in the public eye or behind closed doors. Every effort will be made to ensure your career endures. And if it does, it seems I shall compose melodies that explore the intricate dance of affection with my bodyguard. This could very well become my most successful endeavor to date. I chuckled at the thought. Despite the absurdity of it all, everything was filled with wonder at her ability to transform the impossible into the possible. You're serious about this? He asked, his tone unwavering. Dead serious, she replied, her passion unmistakable. I love it. You, Kate, not the bodyguard, not the polished exterior that shields you from the world. You are the woman who immerses herself in tales of military intrigue, brews a coffee that leaves much to be desired, and would willingly place herself in harm's way for those she holds dear. Though my coffee may be a lamentable brew, the affection I hold for you remains unwavering, even in the face of my culinary shortcomings. My love for you endures, steadfast and true. Kissed me, and this time it was unlike any other. It was not a fleeting act of desperation, nor was it shrouded in the weight of guilt. Instead, it resonated with the essence of a promise, a tender whisper of a new beginning, a choice we were forging in unison. There will be consequences, I cautioned, my words brushing against her lips. Let it come, we shall face it together, address the situation. That afternoon, I composed my resignation letter and meticulously cleared out my office. All the while, my former colleagues observed in silence. Whispers echoed through the hallways, a murmur of intrigue that signaled the rapid spread of news regarding the confrontation with Callie, though the specifics remained shrouded in uncertainty. In a moment fraught with tension, my boss, Marcus, summoned me to his office, signaling an impending farewell. This interview delves into the intricacies of the Adams detail, among other subjects, with a focus on Callie Price. A formal complaint was lodged regarding unprofessional conduct, stating, "You have allowed personal feelings for the client to cloud your judgment." Callie. For months now, Price has been undermining my efforts, intent on demonstrating a point regarding my fitness for duty. Such an accusation weighs heavily upon me. He meticulously laid out the evidence, detailing the pattern of interference surrounding the arena incident. All of it unfolded before Marcus, who listened intently, his silence speaking volumes. At times, I found myself jotting down thoughts, pondering why you hadn't approached me earlier. She was correct in one regard. I am indeed compromised. Ensnared in this predicament, his affection for Laya Adams clouded his judgment, and as he leaned back in his chair, he regarded me with a discerning gaze. "You're quite adept at this," he remarked. "Kate, your work stands out as some of the finest I have encountered. It is truly unfortunate to see you depart over a client relationship. This situation transcends mere business dealings. The relationship was undeniably genuine, so much so that it could compel one to forsake a career." I found myself contemplating Laya, likely nestled in the comfort of her home. As I navigated the complexities of publicly managing our relationship, a familiar warmth blossomed in my chest, tangible and profound enough to inspire the foundations of something enduring. 6 hours later, I found myself once again at her penthouse, no longer in the role of her bodyguard, yet uncertain of what I had become. Rather than asking, "How do you feel?" she inquired, nestled beside me on the couch. In a whirlwind of emotions, one could feel both terror and exhilaration intertwining, a profound sense of liberation washing over the soul. Such feelings are the unmistakable signs of existence, a reminder that life pulses vibrantly within. Yet, as the dawn of tomorrow approaches, one cannot help but wonder what it holds in store. Tomorrow, we embark on a new beginning together. She pressed her lips against mine with a tenderness that felt utterly new, igniting a spark within me for the very first time. For months, I had ceased to scan the room for potential threats, neglected to check the locks, and dismissed the notion of who might be observing me. I was simply existing in a state of unguarded tranquility. It was precisely where I was meant to be. The notion of going public had been Isla's. While I had preferred to manage things differently, in the quiet corners of ambition, I meticulously crafted my security firm, shrouded in secrecy, all the while safeguarding the delicate nature of our relationship. Yet, Yaya Adams had a way of piercing through the veil of discretion. "I have never been one to shy away from anything. We will do this on our own terms," she declared. The morning following my official resignation from the agency before another seizes control of the narrative amidst the brewing media tempest. The narrative unfolded precisely as I had anticipated. The entertainment blogs were the first to seize upon the story, followed swiftly by the mainstream news, and eventually, it permeated the social discourse. The media erupted with a cacophony of opinions regarding the bodyguard who had succumbed to feelings for her client. Much of the discourse was mere drivel, yet amidst the noise, there were glimmers of insight. The sharp edge of professional criticism pierced through the defenses of former agent Kate Wright, igniting a tumult of emotions that beckoned deeper inquiry into the very essence of her involvement. Concerning the intricacies of private security protocols, one industry publication asserts that this is precisely the case. It is essential for professionals to uphold boundaries. As I found myself inundated with calls from reporters eager for information, messages from former colleagues reaching out alongside potential clients who had come across the coverage and felt compelled to seek someone out. Otherwise, those safeguarding their assets will simply overlook them. Leia remarked, discovering me lost in thought as I scrolled through my device. There were particularly scathing remarks displayed on my laptop, a reflection of their ignorance. "They do not truly understand us. They only grasp a fragment of the whole truth. The security industry regards me as a mere jest, a triviality in the grand scheme of things, while the half that truly counts remains indifferent." Does she not? It was indeed true. 3 former clients had already made contact, extending their willingness to provide references for my new firm. Marcus had discreetly facilitated this connection. Let it be understood that my professional abilities have always stood beyond reproach, even in the face of competitors who sought to offer subcontractor services. As Leia settled beside me on the couch, the weight of our more pressing matters hung in the air, demanding our attention. Amidst the myriad of concerns that weighed heavily on my mind, she extended a manila envelope towards me. Within its confines lay a collection of contracts, each one a testament to the complexities that awaited us. For the appropriate security services, it is essential to include documentation such as client agreements and a business license pertinent to the state of operation. Utah. When did you find yourself lost in the depths of self-pity and the vast expanse of the internet yesterday? Comments. Laya. One cannot simply embark on the journey of establishing a business for another. I did not take that path, I merely offered my assistance. The initial funding required for the venture you intend to manage carries a distinct significance. This amount feels excessive. It represents not merely a sum, but a commitment to an investment in the future. As we envision the future we are crafting together, we find ourselves immersed in the details of the paperwork, contemplating the path that lies ahead. As I gazed upon my name inscribed on official documents, bearing the title of CEO of my own company, an unfamiliar sensation stirred within me, a profound shift that had eluded me for far too long. As I departed from the agency, a sense of possibility enveloped me. What if I were to fail? Then we would. Let us devise an alternative together. The initial month proved to be a relentless trial, filled with interminable days of preparation. From the confines of Leia's home office, operations were meticulously orchestrated as she engaged in the careful vetting of potential employees. In this realm of diligence, she crafted security protocols that would elevate right to new heights. In a landscape dominated by larger competitors, security, with unwavering determination, insisted on being my inaugural official client, which meant I was, in essence, stepping into a new realm of opportunity. Receiving compensation for activities I had already been engaged in felt peculiar. This feels strange, I remarked, as I examined the protection contract she had presented. Insisted on signing. It's business professional. Exactly as you desired. I wanted you to be safe. The paperwork is merely a formality. It serves to protect you. Should the need arise, when other clients begin to question your methods, it serves to validate every action you have taken. She was meticulously crafting my reputation, much like she had painstakingly forged her own career. By introducing me to key figures within the industry, she has been recommending my services to fellow performers, even going so far as to conduct interviews in which she lauded my professionalism. Months into my journey, I secured my first independent client, Rebecca Martinez, a local news anchor who found herself the target of unsettling threats from a viewer. She was disheartened by the manner in which her political coverage was handled, a standard that seemed to undermine the very essence of the protection detail, precisely the kind of work I had devoted years to mastering. Congratulations, Laya exclaimed as I stepped through the door, the weight of the signed contract still fresh in my hands. How does it feel to be a real businesswoman? It was a blend of terror and exhilaration, a sensation that left me utterly bewildered. Yet somehow, that uncertainty felt just right. That evening, we reveled in the warmth of celebration, dining at her cherished restaurant, unencumbered by the shadows of scrutiny or the presence of prying lenses, or perhaps mere gossip columnists. Just two women entwined in love, crafting a life together that is uniquely their own. I have something for you, she said, her voice a soft melody that lingered in the air as she drew forth a small velvet box. In that moment, my heart quickened, caught in the delicate web of anticipation. Laya, wait, he urged, his voice steady yet laced with urgency. It's not what you believe. Open it. Inside, nestled within the confines of the box, lay a key unassuming, yet imbued with significance. Silver glimmered on the chain, a curious adornment that beckoned questions about its purpose. As I contemplated our home, I recalled the offer I had made on that place, a decision that lingered in the air like an unspoken promise. Yesterday, we revisited the mountains, the very ones we had gazed upon just last week. Our search for a new home has stretched on for weeks. As we seek that perfect place to call our own, the mountain property stood as an ideal sanctuary, a harmonious blend of home and business headquarters. Its seclusion offered a sense of security. Yet, situated within a convenient distance from Salt Lake City, you acquired a residence that we also purchased. As I held the key in my hand, I contemplated the prospect of us living together officially. The thought of shared mortgage payments and the intertwining of our lives weighed heavily on my mind. The choices I faced, coupled with a level of commitment I had never before offered to another, left me pondering, was it truly a yes? Rather than responding with mere words, I leaned in and kissed her right there in the restaurant. Oblivious to the gazes of onlookers and indifferent to their thoughts, we separated, both of us wearing broad smiles, a silent agreement passing between us. 3 weeks later, we found ourselves, as we maneuvered the boxes into our new abode, we couldn't help but notice that the security office occupied its own space on the ground floor, equipped with a comprehensive monitoring system. In our bedroom, the expansive mountain views unfolded like a canvas, while the ample space accommodated both of our sizable stations and equipment storage with ease. As I stood there, The reality of the moment washed over me. I found Laya in the kitchen, diligently unpacking dishes, her movements deliberate yet tinged with uncertainty. Doubts flickered in my mind, a silent battle waging within, as I grappled with the significance of it all. It was merely a year ago that I found myself residing in solitude within the confines of a modest one-bedroom apartment, convinced that I would never place my trust in another soul for something of this magnitude. And yet here I stand, grappling with the undeniable reality of my own transformation. She set down the box she had been unpacking and moved closer, her gaze steady. "I can't imagine my life without you in it." "Good," he replied, a hint of a smile playing on his lips. In that moment, as her lips met mine, a promise lingered in the air, a vow of unwavering companionship. The kiss was a revelation, imbued with the freshness of beginnings, as if the world had been reborn anew. As the first flakes of snow began to descend upon our mountain, a delicate blanket of white enveloped the landscape, transforming it into a scene of untouched beauty. In that serene moment, the promise of new beginnings and the warmth of shared dreams lingered in the crisp air. Within the confines of our creation, we were forging something that was wholly ours, were we not? Security flourished as our relationship weathered the storms of public scrutiny and professional trials. Together, we had built a home. For the first time in my adult life, I found myself contemplating the future and the possibility of connection with another. I was no longer preoccupied with devising escape routes or envisioning the worst-case scenarios that had so often clouded my thoughts. I was simply existing, enveloped in love and a quiet faith that the morrow would unfold as it should. When Leia's breath brushed softly against my lips, and I needed no second invitation, certain celebrations demanded a veil of privacy, the sort of intimacy that blossoms solely from unwavering trust and profound love enveloped us as we glided together beneath the silvery glow of the moonlight, streaming through our bedroom windows. I realized I had at last discovered something truly worthy of safeguarding not merely Wyla's, but my own very existence. Safety. Yes, but what of the life we had forged together? This love, resilient against every trial, every tempest that sought to tear it asunder, and the future that lay before us. Shimmering with promise, 6 months had passed, and in that time, Right Security had transformed from a solitary endeavor into a thriving enterprise, now boasting a team of 4 dedicated professionals. With a cadre of full-time employees and a clientele that spanned 3 states, my reputation had transformed from that. A bodyguard, once steadfast in his duty, found himself ensnared by the allure of his client, a woman whose ambition knew no bounds. Laya, the architect of security firms that truly delivered on their promises, had seen her career ascend to remarkable heights. The publicity surrounding our relationship, once dreaded as a potential career-ending misstep, had, in an unexpected twist, she became increasingly relatable to her fans. Her latest album soared to the top of the charts, holding its position for an impressive 12 consecutive weeks. And soon after, she found herself in high demand for bookings. Steadfast as we approached the coming year, I remarked, "We excel in this," as I meticulously reviewed the quarterly reports in our home office, with Laya by my side. As I practiced the guitar in the living room, a confident declaration slipped from my lips. "We're good at a lot of things." Just then, the doorbell rang, shattering the moment and pulling us from our reverie. It was a comfortable evening routine, one I had settled into with ease. I had not anticipated the arrival of anyone, yet the unannounced visitors stirred within me a sense of vigilance, igniting my protective instincts. Through the lens of the security monitor, I caught sight of Callie Price on our front porch, her figure appearing smaller than I recalled. Nervous. "What does she desire?" Laya inquired, materializing beside me. "There is but one way to find out." I opened the door, but refrained from inviting her in. Kate, you gaze upon the scene, where joy radiates, and the question lingers in the air. What is it that you wish to convey? An apology, perhaps, or an explanation? The desire to inquire beckons, inviting a deeper understanding. Forgiveness, you say. Alas, you are 6 months too late for such a sentiment. I am acutely aware of my missteps, and the weight of my errors hangs heavily upon me. In the intricate tapestry of our relationship, I found myself ensnared by jealousy, a fierce competitiveness that gnawed at my insides. I was haunted by the fear that you surpassed me in every realm that held significance. Laya, as she stepped into view, her presence instantly transformed the atmosphere, shifting the dynamics of the room. It was as if she possessed an uncanny ability to excel in every facet of existence, be it in her career, her relationships, or the very essence of life itself. All that I desired lay just beyond my grasp, an elusive treasure I could not quite decipher. I scrutinized Callie's visage, searching for any hint of deceit or hidden truths. What I witnessed was not manipulation, but rather a profound weariness and an authentic sense of remorse. What has transpired in your life? Having been dismissed from my position, I came to the unsettling realization that undermining colleagues and jeopardizing client safety does not bode well for one's career in the business world. I have found myself blacklisted from every significant security firm in the nation. Perhaps I deserved it, every ounce of it. Yet, amidst the turmoil, my heart yearned for you. It was never my intention for anyone to suffer. My sole desire was to demonstrate the truth of your compromised nature. You were correct. I found myself compromised, though not in the manner I had anticipated. It was not your frailty that led to this state. Rather, it was something far more profound, compromised by the weight of strength. I discovered the courage to love someone more deeply than I had ever cherished my career. In that moment, Laya's hand found mine, a silent promise binding us together, her fingers intertwined with mine, a gesture of solidarity that sent my heart racing. I don't know what you want from me, I confessed, the weight of uncertainty hanging in the air between us. To convey to Callie, I have nothing more to express than my sincere apologies. In the pursuit of a position within the State Department, I find myself entangled in a web of sabotage, an insidious attempt to dismantle something truly beautiful, all because I couldn't bear the sight of your happiness, she confessed, her voice steady yet laced with an undercurrent of emotion. Apology accepted. Leia added swiftly, cutting off my chance to reply. But that doesn't mean we're Dear friends, I have come to a realization that I must share with you. I am seeking the help I need. In the quiet sanctuary of therapy, I began to unravel the tangled threads of my existence, confronting the specters of competition and jealousy that had long haunted me. Each session peeled back layers of my soul, revealing the complexities that had shaped my less admirable traits. It was a journey toward redemption, a quest to transform the shadows of my past into the light of understanding and growth. Good luck with that, I remarked sincerely after she departed. Laia and I settled into the familiar embrace of our living space. In the dimly lit room, the air thick with unspoken tension, she turned to him, her voice barely above a whisper. How do you feel? She inquired with a touch of levity. It feels as though I have been burdened by an anger I had long forgotten, a lingering shadow that remained unacknowledged. I believe she intended it. Yes, I truly do, though it seems she does not grasp the weight of her words. Alterations may come to pass in our relationship, yet perhaps she will discover the path to becoming a better version of herself. A week later, we found ourselves in celebration. On the occasion of our first anniversary, we found ourselves at the very community center where our paths had first crossed. Leia had orchestrated yet another performance, this time for a fundraiser dedicated to supporting local domestic violence shelters, held upon the same stage, with the same folding chairs, and under the same unforgiving light. Fluorescent lights flickered above, casting an eerie glow on the familiar yet transformed surroundings. A year had passed, and she spoke into the microphone, her voice steady yet tinged with nostalgia. I sang here because in the depths of my solitude, I found myself adrift, yearning to recall the reasons that once ignited my passion for music. This evening, as I raise my voice in song, it is a testament to the discovery of something truly worthy of celebration. Her gaze met mine, anchored in the same back row where I had first witnessed her perform. This song is for Kate, the one who taught. Love is not merely the pursuit of another who fills the void within you. Rather, it is the journey of discovering a partner who ignites the passion within, urging you to become your most complete self. The melody, fresh and crafted solely for this evening, danced through the air, yet the emotion it evoked was one of deep familiarity, raw, honest, and undeniably beautiful. She was a testament to that feeling, bleeding for the audience once more. Yet this time the essence that flowed was joy rather than anguish. As she concluded, I found myself rising to my feet amidst the thunderous applause that echoed around me. My hands grew weary from the fervent clapping, yet I remained steadfast, unwilling to depart this moment. As I stepped onto that stage, the world around me faded into a blur. With the spotlight illuminating her face, I leaned in and pressed my lips to hers, declaring to all present, I love you. In that moment, everything else ceased to exist, whispered against her lips, I love you too. Later, in the sanctuary of our home, we surrendered to each other with a passion that felt timeless. Every few days, a sense of familiarity enveloped them, igniting a passionate connection that felt undeniably right. There were no stolen moments, no professional boundaries to navigate, nor any fear to hinder their unfolding story. In the quiet moments of our shared journey, we unearthed a profound connection, crafting something enduring. Yet, as we laid each stone, a whisper of doubt lingered. Were there regrets hidden in the shadows of our creation? She inquired later, her fingers delicately tracing patterns upon my chest, about the notion of relinquishing one's past. Life, Your career, everything you have labored for, these thoughts have lingered in my mind, prompting me to ponder the question at hand. Indeed, my former existence had been characterized by safety, predictability, and an overwhelming sense of solitude. This new life, in stark contrast, is a chaotic tapestry of experiences in a realm where uncertainty danced hand in hand with love, where risks intertwined with possibilities I had never dared to envision. I found myself at a crossroads, with no regrets weighing upon my heart. I declared, at last, that this was indeed a better path forward. Despite the myriad of complications that surrounded her, she succumbed to slumber, curling into a delicate ball, her breath, deep and even, pressed against my side as I lingered in wakefulness, captivated by the sight of her. As I lay in the stillness of the night, my mind wandered through the labyrinth of the past year. It was remarkable how much had transformed in such a brief span of time. I had relinquished a career, yet in its place, I had forged a business, an unexpected twist in the narrative of my life. In the delicate balance of human connection, one may find that the pursuit of professional respect often leads to an unexpected treasure, personal fulfillment. While the comforting barrier of emotional distance may fade, it is replaced by the profound joy that comes from embracing the entirety of one's experience. Trust, above all, had led me to this remarkable woman who perceived beyond my surface. The walls that once confined me crumbled under the weight of love, as if the very essence of affection had the power to dismantle barriers. Outside, the first delicate flakes of snow began to descend, blanketing the world in a soft, white embrace. Once more, our mountain lay draped in a flawless blanket of white, and within its embrace, we found ourselves precisely where we belonged. We're meant to be together.